Welcome to the 2024-25 long wheelbase ID Buzz. So this is, as I say, the 24-25 model, and it's long wheelbase 7-seater. Now they do a short wheelbase version as well, which is also available, I think 6-seaters and 7-seaters. There may only be 6. I'll double check that and put it on the screen. But this one is available in 6 and 7-seater. Yeah, great little vehicle. We drove one of the last year's models on the family road trip earlier in the year, and I highly recommend watching that video if you haven't seen it already, because that'll give you the same flavour. There's a lot of things identical between this model and the previous model. I shouldn't worry too much about those changes, but we'll also talk about some of the things which they've improved on this version. Obviously, one of the big improvements is it's got more seats, 7 seats, and I'll show you a little bit of that later. The other thing which is a huge improvement, I think, is the use of surround cameras. We'll look at that in a little while as well. There's also rear climate in the back for the people in the back. You can actually got controls of that. A little bit of a story on that in a second. And yeah, so that's kind of the major improvements. One of the other things which obviously is a big improvement is they've changed the motors, which gives you a little bit longer range. Not actually experienced that yet, but so far at the moment we seem to be getting less range than we did in the previous version, but that may be because it's a heavier vehicle, and we also had it pretty loaded yesterday. I will talk about that story in just a second, but let's get going. So the main difference here on these cars is the cameras. It's got really superb cameras on it, for reversing and forward and backwards as well. And obviously with the cameras being fitted, it also has a lot more intelligent driving ability as well. I really missed this on the old model. Had a lot of trouble manoeuvring the short wheelbase version. This is longer, but I'm not having any issues manoeuvring it at all. I think a lot of it is down to the size of the vehicle. It's quite a long vehicle, it's very squared off, but it's actually not that much bigger than my old EV6 was. It's just the fact it's quite bulky. That's one of the weird things. This seatbelt just pre-tensioned on me as I drove off. And initially when I had it, it was a bit freaky that it did that. So I said I was going to tell you a story about yesterday. So yesterday we went on a family road trip, and it was quite an interesting experience. We were doing a 65-mile trip, 130 miles round trip. When I kicked off in the morning, we had 180 miles of range. So I thought nothing of it. We'd get there, get back, that'd be fine, 50-mile range spare. Not a problem. And on the previous short wheelbase, we'd had no issues at all with the range, predicted range, not matching the reality. Now it was really windy. And as we went along, it adjusted a little bit because the wind was very strong. And by the time I got there, it was telling me I had around about 35 miles spare range to get back. Started the journey back, and it was maybe a tiny bit windier, and it dropped a little bit, but still plenty of spare range. Nothing to panic about. I thought I'll just stop at Cambridge services on the way back, so I can go back and just charge there and that'll be fine. Got to Cambridge services, and as usual, Cambridge services, absolute chaos. Definitely charge your anxiety there. The ironnesses were full, the grid services were full, nowhere to queue. Just it's a bit of a nightmare, that services, and it's all under redevelopment, so it's very tricky to actually do anything. So, well, okay, fair enough. That's a bit challenging. Don't know quite how we're going to manage that. We'll go on to the next charger. Still had about 20 miles range spare over what we needed to get home. Anyway, started pulling out from the service, and the range dropped like a stone. It was falling off really, really rapidly. I couldn't figure out why, because wind conditions hadn't changed or anything like that. But we were losing about 5 miles a mile, and obviously weren't going to get home at that rate. So tried to use the sat nav to actually find a charger, and it's pretty good at finding chargers. The problem was it was finding the chargers behind us. Needed to turn around to get to them, and that was very tricky to do. It doesn't seem to have I couldn't figure out how to do chargers along the route, and I tried to choose one which was not one of the L2 charge ones, and it basically just told me that it couldn't choose it. It kept selecting it and then not selecting it. It was really weird. It just sort of, I can't. It's hard to explain how it worked, but when you're on the map and you're navigating up on here, it actually shows you where you're navigating to, and it will show you charges on there. If you select a charge, just to show you what it looks like. I'll just choose one of them. So it'll show you. It will show you the charges on here. And you can see now it's put the charger in there, which is fine. And it added that one absolutely fine. If I tap it out, you can see it's added that in. What was weird though yesterday was it wouldn't add the charger I was choosing in. It kept choosing a different charger, and it kept choosing a different charger which was not available. So that was a bit problematic. And I probably need to look at it a bit more and see what I can do to improve that. But yeah, that wasn't particularly helpful. Let's put it that way. That's one thing I do like about it. I'm running in sports mode. It doesn't seem to make a real difference in the acceleration on the range. It does make a lot of difference in the acceleration. Anyway, it's the same. We wouldn't select the right charger. So carried on driving, trying to select chargers. Got to the point where I'd gone past Huntingdon, so I must stop at the charger. Found there was a 7 kilowatt pod point to get on, which I thought, okay, fine. I'll be slow, but I can at least top it up enough so I can get to home and then I'll be fine charging. Stopped at that 7 kilowatt and couldn't get pod point to work. It logged me out of the account. There wasn't I sent for the password reset, just couldn't remember the password. It would never sent me the email for the password reset. It hasn't even sent it to me today, so it's all showing up on the tomorrow. So couldn't get it there, so I thought, okay, let's carry on, see get the next charger. Tried to find another charger, navigation wasn't working. That charger, so I was getting real charger anxiety. I don't really get range anxiety, I know what do. But at this point I was getting real charger anxiety because I couldn't find chargers working. And I looked at the maths and realised that I didn't have a choice. I was going to have to go to Peterborough Extra Services. Now, at that point, it was saying it was 11 miles to Peterborough Extra Services and we had 10 miles range. That was not really going to work, but we had no choice. It was scary, basically doing it. So I ended up coasting the last bit of the journey into Peterborough Services. I can tell you that there's about 3 miles extra range on the car when it gets down to 0. I never want to do that again. I don't want to get down to 0 again. Yes, you can say that was bad planning on my part. I probably should have allowed a bit for the fact it was going to be super windy that day. If I'd used it better, normally I have that set up in the car with Android Auto. It wouldn't have been an issue because it would have told me the wind, it would have worked out the distance, and I would have charged a lot earlier. I probably would have waited at Cambridge Services to find a charger, which was great. But I didn't, and yeah, it was a scary experience. It was a really scary experience, and the reason for this, the reason for why we were having that range drop quite so quickly was my lovely daughter. She had decided that she wanted the heat up in the back of the car, and I hadn't realised she would be able to reach the heating controls. They're actually, I don't know if you can see them, but they're behind me up on the top of the pillar there. I'll show you that in a second. But she can reach them, and that meant she could turn them up to 32 degrees, and that drained the battery like anything. Now you can turn off the rear seating with this button here, but what I found is that seems to randomly turn off. I mean, it's stayed on now. And let's see if I turn the vehicle off and turn it back on again. Let's see what happens. Just turn off manually. Turn it back on. Back to climate. And rear. That stayed on this time, but this morning when I came in, it actually turned itself off. So it doesn't seem particularly reliable. When it's on, it's good. You can actually control it, and it all works really well, and you've got full control over this. You can put your the controller is above each seat, and you can just reach up and touch that, and my daughter was able to reach up from her car seat and do that. So the cameras on this are just brilliant. They're so useful. Let's just reverse it up here a bit. You can really see surround cameras, excellent stuff. On the old model, you could only get a reversing camera. In fact, the one we had on the road trip didn't even have that; just had the sensors, which made it really tricky to manoeuvre the vehicle. So this is just so much better. They're under the parking assist option. Camera there. There's no easy way of turning the front camera on automatically, which is a shame. I quite like that to happen, unless other people in the comments actually know how to do that. But I can only see you can get the automatic parking sensor to come on as you get closer to things going forward, but I can't see how you get the camera to come on. But other than that, it's really good. So this whole entertainment system has been improved. It's just so much more responsive than it previously was. Yeah, really easy to use. Very quick to use. It doesn't seem to have the gesture control it had on the old one. What I do like is these buttons here are illuminated when it's dark, when you've got lights on, so that's really nice touch. Yeah, this thing's just work. You've got shortcut buttons at the top, which you can actually adjust. You've got a set of more shortcuts you can adjust on here to actually add in favourites. I've just got usual things which are useful for me on here: charging, HUD position. It's got a HUD. Let's see if I can get that to show. So you can see the HUD there. It's very straightforward to use. Shows navigation as well. It does have a snow mode. Let's see if I can show you that. Come back over here and actually go to our HUD positioning. So we're in HUD positioning now. Let's come out, so you can obviously move it up and down, or left, right, spin it left and right. You can't move it left and right, you can only spin it, but you have got brightness control, which I've got up 100. The other thing you've got is you can set it into snow mode, and obviously you need to zoom that back in again, just to show you. And you can see it goes blue if it's in snow mode, which does show up a bit better against sort of a dazzling bright background. Let's switch it back for now to normal, and it goes white, normal. And the brightness can be dimmed down to about that if you don't like it, and all the way up to 100%. But it's, yeah, sometimes it just doesn't seem that bright against bright backgrounds. So you can rotate it slightly left and right, but you can't actually move it left and right, which seems a little bit of a limitation. I find I have to move my head position to actually get that left line to be in place. You can move it up and down, but yeah, I quite like to be able to move it to the right slightly. Not sure why that's not an option, because doesn't seem to be the projector. I can see there's more space in the projector, but maybe just a limitation of the system being used. So the other thing, talking about positions, is this angle of this unit here. So you can't really see it from here, but from my view, this is actually slightly angled out, so it's kind of facing the passenger. I have to say, this car draws envious glances everywhere you go, and a lot of people, certainly in the camper van community, have been stopping me and asking me about it. So here is the ID Buzz, and in case you're wondering where we are, we're at Rutland Water, which is one of our common filming locations. Long wheelbase, you can see it's a few centimetres longer, mostly in this rear door area. Yeah, it looks good. From the rear, this is very similar to the short wheelbase version, different to the commercial version, which has the option for lift tailgate or doors on the back, but all the passenger versions have tailgates. Again, as I said, all the extra space is in the doors, so it's long. Now, when I first saw the spec for this car, I thought it was going to have opening windows at the back, but it doesn't seem to have on this one. I don't know if it's an option or not. Nice wheels. These are slightly smaller wheels than the one I had on the previous version. makes it a little bit less challenging to not to scuff the wheels. Although I say manoeuvring has been really good with it. Cup in the cup holder does fit just about. You have got extra cup holders down here, as we did in the previous version as well. I can never quite get that open, so I could put them in there. It's the same layout as the previous vehicle. The only difference being that head-up display. Easy to use, getting in and out the doors. This is the Star version, so it has the powered doors. Let's open it up and let's have a look inside. So we can see 2 car seats. Isofix in these ones as well. Also Isofix in the rear seats, which is really nice to see as well. So you can have up to 4 children riding in car seats. Very good. Centre seat, you can get an adult still in there. Let's try it. I'm sure I can again. Now, what I've actually got here is all these seats are actually in their first back positions. So it makes it actually really easy for me to get in and out of this car. I've got loads of leg room. So you can see tons of leg room down here. Really could bring these seats quite a bit further forward, and they adjust quite nicely. There's a handle underneath here, which I can just grab if I remember which end it is, which I think is the other end. Let's see. There it is. I'm going to just pull them forward, and you can see even at their farthest forward position, I've got leg room. I can sit there, and then there's tons of rooms behind me. It does affect the load space, how far and back you have these seats. I'm actually going to leave this one in the farthest forward position. And if we look at this view here, you can see the difference you've got in space between the seats forward and the seats back. It's substantial, really, and it does give you a lot more leg space behind you if you do bring them forward. So if you wanted to put adults in the back, you could. Get in and out of the back is actually really easy, and I'll show you that in just a second. Now I'm just over 6 foot, and I can actually, I'm standing up at the moment. I mean, obviously my head's bent over, but I could stand up and sort the girls out. I certainly can come down, bend my knees, and I can get in here on the feet to actually adjust things, which is quite nice. And stepping out of the car, down. It probably could do with another step here, but it just feels sometimes one of my friends was having a real struggle to get in and out. So getting in the back is really easy. You can even do this with the child seats in place, which just really amazed me when I saw that. That's very, very useful. So just pull this handle here, pull it forward. Now obviously these straps could be pulled out of the way, they're just hooked on the car seat, but we were able to climb in here with the straps in place and get in the back. Just grab hold of the strap and pull it forward, and yeah, you could actually, I can't remember how you do that. It's like that one, I think. Yeah, pull that strap at the top and you can just pull it forward. And again, you can see this seat is as far back as it goes, and I haven't got a huge amount of leg room. Don't think this seat goes any further back. It might do actually, it's slightly far forward. So I can get that a little bit further back, and then I've got some slightly more leg room back at the cost of luggage space. Now you will notice the cover is on the floor, and that's the only place I can find to put it. It seems a bit restrictive because it normally clips into these clips here and goes across here, which obviously if you had that up there you wouldn't be able to sit in these seats because the cover would be in the way. So it's a bit of a restriction. Yeah, it wasn't, I don't know, that doesn't feel like the best design because the car narrows as it gets to the back, so you can't put it in the back piece of the boot. It just doesn't fit there, and it doesn't really fit very well anywhere. To be honest, it fits on the floor, it's in the way of my feet, and that doesn't seem like the best design to me. You kind of want to be able to fold these seats down most of the time, have the cover in place, and then when you fold them up, have somewhere to put the cover, and it's not really anywhere to put them. I was talking about leg room, and let's have a look at the other side and the seat as far back as it goes, and you can see there's tons of leg room there. If I was sitting over there, I'd be really comfortable. So yeah, it's certainly if you've got a kids seat in the front, there's no reason for them to have leg room. 2 adults in the back would be some company. But the great thing, as I said, these have got Isofix, so you could have the kids' car seats in the back, and that'd be fun for them, and then they can climb in to get into their seats in the back. It does mean you lose quite a bit of luggage space, as I said. If I wanted to, I could pull this seat further forward, which would give a lot more luggage space in the back, and that's fairly easy to do. You've just got to handle the back here, pull it forward, and there you go. You've got a whole lot more luggage space. A little gap there. The only thing is this bit here doesn't extend back very far, which is a bit of a problem, but you'll see when we look in the boot, That gives you a reasonable amount of space, even with 6 seats being used, 7 seats being used. A 6-seater version of this wouldn't have this piece in, so you'd have the gap you could walk through in the middle, which would be quite nice. It's a little bit tight, shoulder to shoulder in that place with the car seats in place, but it's not too bad. So while we're sitting in the back, it's nice to note you have got a USB for the people in the back, your cup holder. No separate heating controls for this piece of the car. You've obviously only got the bit we showed you earlier, but you have got vents here, which I think they're controlled by the rear controls. If you want to get out, just push the seat back up like that, and then you can climb your way out. Obviously this stuff is exactly the same, and you can do it with both car seats in place. It just works. Back top tethers obviously on there as well, so yeah, very effective that you can do that. I'm going to pull this seat forward so I can show you what the maximum luggage space you can get in the back is. And I've just got to find the lever again. I seem to have struggled to find the levers on these ones. There it is. That's that there. That's it. Done. That's not as far as forward as it go. That's as far as forward as it go, and we're okay there. So you see that seat is as far back as it goes. Minimal leg room, but there, with the seat as far forward as it can go, you've still got a reasonable amount of leg room with that seat as far forward as it can go. And we'll pull that back down just to show you what that looks like realistically. So there you go. Getting out's a bit of fun. Dive through the gap, feet down. So that's, again, another step there would be useful. But you can see again it's reasonably easy to get in and out of. And nice that you can do it with the car seats on. I've not actually seen another car where you can do that as easy as that. I wouldn't recommend doing it with the child in place though. Okay, let's lock this up. Again, automatic on the keys. As previously, you can child lock these doors so the people can come do them. Charging flap at the back as before. Same issue as we had last time. If you reverse into charging slot, it's challenging to get the boot open. As you can see, this board is a lot shorter than it was in the previous version. It'd be really nice if there was a way of folding something in there to fill that space in, but there isn't. So you have to think about that when you're doing low space. You've got your Velcro restrainers as before, and you just put them wherever you like. Works really well actually. I found that really useful over the last couple of days. These seats will flip down. Obviously, just need to make sure the headrests are down. Actually, let me do this one because it's easy. I've got the headrest down on that one. It's easier to do this one-handed. Just pull the lever, flips into place, and then you've got quite a big load space. And if you bring that seat back, it almost kind of matches here. You get the gap. Same as before, we've got the hooks in the back, which is quite useful. Hook there. You've got the only cigarette lighters type 12 volt supply in the whole car. On this side, this car has got the release for the tow bar. So let's do that. Press the button, and then out it pops, and that just pulls up into place then. And then if you want to release it, you press the button again, and then you can just push it back up with your foot, and it goes up quite nicely into space. Talking about feet, this car actually has gesture control for the boot, which seems to work really well. Let's give that a go. So if I wave my foot underneath here, straight away it opens. I'm impressed with that because most cars with gesture, certainly my old I-Pace, that never used to work as well as that. Bring the car seat back up is easy. Just pull on the lever again to release it, and then you can just get the handle up. Let me do that again because you didn't really see that. Just pull the lever again, and then pull the handle to pull it back up. And you probably heard that beeping just now. I just realised that the tow bar hadn't gone up fully, so that was out of the way. Yeah, so that's basically the car. It's only got the one position for the luggage cover, but generally works really well. And you can see when you've got these seats down, you've got a huge amount of space to fill in. I was transporting some children's bikes, and I was able to stand them upright in that space. It's huge. And of course you can also fold down the middle seats. I obviously can't do that at the moment because I've got the child seats in there, but you can see with that seat as far forward as it can, that you've got a huge amount of space in there. I could almost lie flat in there, I think, even with the thing. Let's have a look. Well, I'm going to climb aboard. So let me climb in here. This is going to be fun. Yep. So I can't quite lie down, but I certainly can possibly sleep here and look out at the back of the world over the road. Oh, that's because I have a quite nice sleep here and just look out at the view here, which is pretty spectacular, it has to be said. Should point out that both the back seats have top tethers, which is really good. One of the real beauties of this seating arrangement in here is just how easy it actually makes it to get chairs in and out. Obviously, getting top tethers off is sometimes a real challenge, but just fold the car forward and then you can unhook it. It's really straightforward. Obviously difficult to do one-handed, but you just free it up and then you could unhook it. Like so. I actually probably need a bit more unhook, but there you go. Then fold it back. All done. And then you just got to do your unclipping. Really, really simple. Obviously slightly more challenging with just one hand, but yeah, there you go. All free, ready to go. As mentioned, you can also have the car seat in the back because there's nicer fix on the back seats. It's really good. Such a great family car. So I'm actually surprised. I'm surprised how easy to manoeuvre this car. I was expecting with the longer wheelbase that I'd have more challenges with it, but the turning circle's great. With the cameras, it just makes it easy to work out where you are. I would like their cameras to have the ability to turn on automatically when you're close to things, but they don't. So yeah, in general, it's a really good car, and there's not much difference between this and the old version. Obviously, the older version had a slightly less range than the new one, although obviously the issues yesterday, we're not sure how much that plays into things, but it's got better motors effectively, which are more powerful and are supposed to go further on charge. To be honest, today it has been okay. The charging's the gasometer's been saying exactly what the distance has been. As the mile's gone down, the gasometer's gone down a mile, so it's usually pretty accurate, and that's certainly what we found last time with the buzz. So I think a lot of it was to do with my daughter yesterday when I switching on the temperatures. Obviously the controls have completely shifted. This used to be on the right hand side. Obviously I had gesture control, which doesn't seem to happen now, but there's some nice touches on here. It's really easy to turn your seats on and off. Admittedly they're touch screen, but it just works. They're there all the time. Getting to the climate is easy. You've got your controls here to up and down your climate if you want to. You can sync. It just works. A lot easier to navigate than it was previously. Get to climate control, you can just do it by hitting the buttons. Nice that these bits here are illuminated. Obviously, it's just the way. One of the complaints that's always been there for the ID series that it's not been illuminated, but it is now. At the moment we're getting climate control on my side because I'm sitting on here, because it can tell I'm sitting on the seat, so you can see it's sensed that. Can turn the heated steering wheel on, which I might do actually at the moment because it's a bit on the chilly side, but all this stuff is just as it was. And then you can turn air care on, which does a nice job of cleaning the air in the car. Actually, we found that really useful the other day. One of my daughters stepped into something she perhaps shouldn't have done, brought it into the car. It was really smelly. Used the air care, and the smell was gone in a very short amount of time. You've got your smart controls as you got previously, so if I want to warm my feet I can do. Yeah, it's just, you don't use those. I don't actually know anybody who really uses these that much, but they're there. You've got options to do things. The default windows is actually quite good, but it doesn't seem to need that very often, and I think these are heated windscreens because there just seems to be a speckle between them, but I haven't actually worked out if they are for not, so I'll try and confirm that. We'll turn the air care off, turn the smart off, and we're just back to normal air conditioning, but it stays warm in this car very well. Does all the things you expect to do. I mean, it's not exactly warm today, 6 degrees. Range wise, well, I've got 111 miles at 51%. I would say that's pretty accurate. Obviously we had all that issue yesterday with the range, but not seen that since. I think the range has been spot on what is said here. Certainly not dropped off. Every mile I've been doing, it's been going down a mile on the gasometer, so that seems usually pretty accurate. And 111 at 51%, that's okay, isn't it? It's over 200 miles range. I always think 200 mile range is fine. One thing I still don't like about this car, and I think this is something some people should think about. Obviously, by default, up here, if we go to, I can't find where it is now. Let me. There we go. Charging. The settings for charging are. They have the battery care mode, which sets it to basically 85%. You've got the ability to optimise the battery heating. You can start battery heating to warm it up before you get to location, which is nice. That obviously, and it even tells you how long it needs to warm up, which is quite good. And you've got a few options on there, but I do find the battery care mode a bit deceiving in a way, because basically they're saying never charge it above 80% is what their advice is. You shouldn't really charge it 85%, which means that quoted range you get from the WLTP is quoted at 100%, and they're basically saying don't use 100%. And I wish manufacturers wouldn't do this. I wish what they would do is set a buffer, 20%, whatever it is they need to have as the safe charging zone to allow the batteries to be healthy, and then quote that range. And that means you have to put a slightly bigger battery in. Put a slightly bigger battery in. I mean, it's not going to be a problem going forward with the new solid state batteries as they come out on the other batteries, which are much longer range anyway. So they're going to be less of an issue. But with these lithium-ion batteries, when we need to do this, let's actually be honest about it. Say that you're not going to get 220 miles, you only get 890 miles, whatever it is. But be honest about it, so people can actually plan properly. Because this is very aggressive when it's switched on, and if you turn it off, it keeps prompting you to turn it back on again. And I keep forgetting to turn it off, and I haven't been, even on AC. I'm only charging to 80% at the moment. So let me not have that. Bidirectional charging is interesting. This is so it's not vehicle. It's vehicle to grid rather than not unlike the Kia option where you can plug a load in. It's vehicle to grid, but yeah, it's good. You've got all your shortcuts down here. You can obviously rapid cooling, max AC, recycling. Just easy to get to, and it's nice to see a lot of this stuff is really easy to get to. Turn auto, and you can say what you want. Very noisy that, but I'll turn it into low. For some reason I've got it down to 16 degrees, which we'll wanted to cool. Let's bring it back up to 22, which seems to be a comfortable temperature in here. Lots of shortcuts, as I said. Parking assist, you've got the option to change your assist modes. One thing I do like on here is the speed camera warning on here. I've currently got on display and sound. I've not actually heard sound yet on display, unlike the Kias where they're so aggressive. It's very gentle and it's easy to use. I have turned auto hold off because I found that on reversing and manoeuvring this car more challenging, and with the less aggressive regen and everything you get with VWs, it doesn't seem to be too much of an issue. But I can turn it on quickly. Interior monitoring is obviously useful to be able to turn that off if you're leaving the kids in the car for any reason. Yeah, and then you've got direct access to all those things, and you can modify this to add in your own options. You've got all the options here. You've got so many options on this you can use, and then you've got your data. You can see how much range you've been doing. So this is since I start today, so I'm only getting 1.8 miles per kilowatt hour, which is not brilliant. And you can obviously see here the consumption hit times. You can see the long-term consumption, which is a bit better, 2.1. 1.9 cents in charge. So not brilliant consumption levels. I'm running it in sports mode, which might have something to do with that. So as you have got modes, sports, comfort, etc., it switches back to comfort every time turn off by looks of things, although I think you can set it to go to the individual by default. It's okay, it's not too bad to get into that. Parking assist we've seen, so you've got, and this has got the intelligent parking assist. Maybe I'll show you that later, where it does an amazing job of actually getting into a very tight parking space. Yeah, so yeah, it works. So I'm going to leave it there. I've really enjoyed driving this ID Buzz long wheelbase and 25 division. I think this is a huge step forward over the previous version. Combination of many things. The cameras just make it so much better. In fact, I think the cameras generally, and having those as now they're standard on this model. You get them even on the lowest spec model now. You get the cameras, which is great, because the old version, as I said, only had a reversing camera, which was pretty poor if it had one at all. The other thing which you do get now as well, and I don't know if I can show you this. If you can see on the edge of the mirrors, you've now got lights to show that you've got traffic coming alongside you, which is really good. Having the ability to see that you've got traffic coming alongside you when you're pulling out is really useful. And again, that's all linked in with the traffic. That driver assistance system is really good, I have to say. It's one of the best intelligent driving systems. When I first used it, I thought it was a bit fluctuating on steering, but it seems to have gotten used to that really quickly and is steering really well. Yeah, could definitely make use of that. That was excellent. Obviously, this hasn't got electric seats; it's manual seats. But to be honest, once you get the seats in the right position, I don't think you can move them much on this one. You can do it. So the steering wheel only adjusts up and down, which is nice that we could come forwards and backwards a bit. But I can't see how you do that. I think it literally is only up and down. But yeah, it's not at all bad. And for a van for conversion, it's really rather good. You've just got everything you had in the previous one, all the same sort of connectors and everything. So as a family car, you're not going to really beat this. Yes, it's a bit big, you may not like that, some people don't like big cars, but with all the parking assistance and everything on it, it's a real doddle to manoeuvre. And having done a U-turn in it, the steering is excellent. The turning circle is way better than I expected for a long wheelbase vehicle. So yeah, all in all, very good. So I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching, and watch out for more content on this channel. Like and subscribe if you mind.